I was 17 when this happened. Back then, I still lived with my parents, and my little brother George was only 8 years old. We shared the same bedroom and slept in a bunk bed. One night, I woke up to the sound of a child laughing outside. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then I heard it again. I walked over to the window and completely froze. George was running around our backyard, laughing, like he was playing tag with someone. The only problem, there was nobody else there. I rushed outside and called his name. The moment he walked over to me, I grabbed his hand, brought him back inside, locked the front door, and sent him straight back to bed. The next morning, I asked him why he'd gone outside. He looked at me like it was the most normal thing in the world. Uncle Robin was standing by my window. He wanted me to come outside and play. Just imagining some stranger standing outside my little brother's window in the middle of the night made my blood run cold. I immediately told my dad everything. He didn't try to calm me down or brush it off. That same day, he dug some old security cameras out of the shed and installed them around the entire house before bed. He asked me to keep a close eye on George that night. We didn't tell Mum. There was no reason to scare her. That night, everything felt completely normal. George was sleeping on the bottom bunk. I was on the top. At some point, I must have fallen asleep. Then, suddenly, I woke up to the sound of our front door creaking. It was slowly swinging back and forth in the wind. I looked down. George's bed was empty. I ran to the window. He wasn't in the backyard. My heart dropped. I quietly woke my dad, making sure not to wake Mom. The two of us rushed outside and searched every inch of the yard. Nothing. Still wearing our pajamas. We jumped into the car and started driving through the neighborhood, hoping we'd spot him before it was too late. Almost 30 minutes later, we found him. He was nearly 2 miles from our house, calmly walking down the middle of the road. But that wasn't the worst part. His right arm was stretched out, as if he was holding someone's hand, except there was nobody there. Just George. Walking beside someone we couldn't see, we slammed on the brakes and ran toward him. George looked completely confused, like he couldn't understand why we were so scared. We quietly brought him back to the car, the entire drive home. Neither my dad nor I said a single word. As soon as George was back in bed, we sat down and started checking the security footage. We found nothing. No strangers, no shadows, no one walking onto our property. The only thing the cameras captured was George walking to the front door, reaching for the handle and opening it like it had never been locked. But my dad had locked that door after dinner. He even took the key into his bedroom. We just sat there in silence. Neither of us could explain what we'd seen. Eventually, my dad closed the laptop and we went to our rooms. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Dad was already sitting in the kitchen, watching the footage again. I poured myself a cup of coffee and finally said, "Maybe we should ask George." Dad nodded. "Yeah. Before your mum wakes up," I woke George, poured him a glass of milk, and brought him into the kitchen. We asked him everything. Why did he leave? Who opened the door? Where did he go? George answered, without the slightest hesitation. "Uncle Robin came back last night. He said he wanted to show me his house. He opened the front door, and we walked there together. He told me he lives at 47 Maple Street. He also said Dad used to live there, and that he'd wanted to meet me for a long time, but he never got the chance." My dad and I slowly looked at each other. I watched the color drain from my dad's face. I felt the same chill crawling down my spine. That address, 47 Maple Street, was my grandfather's house. He had died 1 year before George was born.